Welcome back to Kingdom Kast. It's your host, Bad Love Chuck. We're back for another week as the Chiefs wrapped up their NFL draft weekend last week. Over to the top right-hand corner is my guy, Country. Over to the bottom right-hand corner is my guy, Boogie. And we have our special guest at the bottom left-hand corner. He currently works for The Athletic. He is the current Chiefs beat writer for The Athletic. I'd like to welcome my guy, Nate Taylor, to this week's episode of Kingdom Kast. How you doing, Nate?
Good. I'm doing good, fellas. Thanks for having me on. I got to sleep the last few nights because I don't have to worry about the draft anymore. It's nice outside. I didn't notice that until 2 days ago, so I'm good.
Yeah, everybody be going ham, man, as far as you and the other beat writers and just anybody covering the Chiefs, man, just been going nonstop at it. So I bet it was a lot, man. So to kick things off, though, man, before we get into the draft and everything, how did you go about, getting hired for The Athletic, and why did you want to pursue that?
No, it's a good question, and again, I'm really thankful to just be on with you guys and have been watching you all grow this thing for a while. Yeah, I mean, I have one of the coolest jobs in the city, which is weird to say, but I try to remind myself that quite a bit, Chuck. And I know we've talked before, but we're both from Kansas City. Me and my family moved back in 2017 because my wife Holly got a job at Berkeley, which is an advertising firm here in Kansas City. So before that, I was in Indianapolis covering the NBA and the Indiana Pacers. And, we decided to move our family in Kansas City. So I kind of quit my job, thought I was going to cover the NBA for 15, 20 years or whatever. But our son was 3 at the time. And so it just made sense to make that move and to be around my parents more and to be around her parents. And yeah, The Athletic was just starting around 2016 going into 2017. And so from a couple people that recommended me for the opportunity to cover the Chiefs with The Athletic, it was my buddy Rustin Dodd, who covered the Royals for a lot of years. Therese Paylor was a big voice to say, hey, do you guys know that Nate moved back to Kansas City, even though, I really wasn't working as a beat writer at the time. I had kind of written for about 8 months for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So anybody who goes to a Royals game, you can see the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, headquarters across I-70. So I would write for their magazine and I would interview all sorts of athletes across all different sports. But enough word of mouth got around that The Athletic interviewed me for the job. I wasn't sure if I was going to get it. I was just like, hey, I've never covered pro football, but I've been watching the Chiefs my whole life. And I think I remember telling one of my editors, Paul Fichtenbaum, I was like, I think this Mahomes dude's going to be good. So, if he's good, people will obviously want to read about the team. I had known Andy Reid's background for a while. And so it was the perfect time, a real perfect fit. And for 2 years, all my friends, all my family was like, did you know they were going to become Super Bowl contenders? And it's no, but I had a feeling they were going to be better. So it really just worked out. It's one of those things where it's it was a perfect time to change up my career. It was a great opportunity, and it was in the city that I'm from, and that, it's just cool to know that people can read my work, can see what I do on Twitter, can obviously be with you guys, and know that I can go back as long as you want. I got all this information from my dad, and then I've lived through it, for 30 some odd years. So, yeah, man, it's really cool. I don't know what I'll do next, but right now it's pretty good.
Yeah, so you kind of got a prodigal son type of story with the Chiefs in Kansas City. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is, man. It's I knew people in the organization before I took the job, right? And so one of the funniest things was, if people really care, and I'm not asking people to care to this degree, but some people were like, hey, I know Nate from high school, or, we went to college together at Central Missouri. Kansas City is a small town. I remember I called Chuck for the first time and we knew 5 people instantly. I mean, it's just, it's just a cool thing. So there were some people that were that knew that I rooted for the team for most of my life. I remember visiting my parents in 2015, like when the Royals were really hot. That was the year Hayden was born. Me and Holly flew to Kansas City to tell my parents and her folks, hey, we're gonna have a kid. Like, this is gonna be the first child in our marriage. Like, we kind of kept it a secret. And like, I knew a couple people, and I was like, can I take my dad on a tour of Arrowhead Stadium? Because he's been following the team since they came here in '66. And so you find out the time slot, you figure out it kind of works for everybody. And so there's like pictures on my Facebook page of us like, going through the Chiefs locker room on like this tour. Cause I'm just like, hey, isn't this cool? Isn't this cool to be on the field? And this was this was during the summer. And little did me or my dad realize that like in less than 3 years, I was going to be like covering the actual team. So it's just wild, man. It's an unbelievable blessing. And yeah, people come up to me all the time and they're like, how did you get the job? And be like, how is this like perfect for you? But I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just the way life works sometimes. But it's really cool. And it's cool that like people can know you for a while. And then when you have like a really cool job, it just makes everybody's relationship with you really, fun.
That's what's up, man. Yeah. That's really cool.
So speaking of Kansas City, and as a Kansas City native, you know how we feel about Kansas City, Missouri versus Kansas City, Kansas.
Yep.
It's never gonna die.
No,
nope. I don't know where it started. I don't know where it's going. It's kind of like Kansas City versus St. Louis.
Yep.
I don't know how that started, but whatever, it's going to continue forever as long as we are alive. So Kyle Long tweeted, what exactly did he tweet? I don't know exactly word for word.
He just said, I'm enjoying Kansas.
That's
basically before that, he said that he was looking for a place in KC. So either in Kansas or Missouri. So I don't know how people missed the boat on that.
It's hilarious, right? Because Cal, I mean, he only played for the Chicago Bears, so like Chicago's in Illinois, you got to worry about it from a geographical stuff. And I think like if you asked, like if I think right now, I think more guys on the team are starting to live in Kansas than Missouri. For instance, Pat lives in Missouri, but like Tyreek Hill lives in Kansas. Like one of the first people I really got to know was Mitchell Schwartz, and like he lives in Overland Park. So it was like, okay, cool. So you're starting to like some guys are starting to realize that Kansas is an option. But it's funny to me that one fan on Twitter was like, "But Arrowhead's in Missouri," and it's just like. I'm sure he knows where he's going to play football on Sunday, Sean. Like, hey, that's not an issue, but it's fun. Like my dad went to Kansas University and he roots for the Jayhawks. I growing up living on the Missouri side, like I just kind of rocked with the Missouri Tigers. I was just like, we'll make it fun in the house. So it's funny to know that like I lived in Missouri my whole life. So I went to Hickman Mills High School. Bannister Mall was like the big thing back in the day. It was not Oak Park Mall. Like that was like kind of frowned upon when I was growing up. And as soon as we made the decision to come back home, I was like, hey, Kansas got some nice houses. So I live on the Kansas side. And now my boy is like learning about the Jayhawks. And I'm like, no, but like, Missouri hasn't been good at basketball for like, so it's just like whatever, man. enjoy your fandom, but yeah, I love that. Like Kyle Long's pretty active on Twitter, and he's a really smart dude and pretty fun to talk to. So I hope fans like get to enjoy him the more he obviously plays with the team. But people should cut some players some slack. I think folks would be surprised at how many guys live in Kansas, even though the paycheck is coming from the Missouri side.
You're exactly right, Nate. And Kent, I appreciate the compliments. Philip, yeah, Bar Chalk, yeah, whatever. But anyway, but this was the quote tweet that cracked me up though. This girl was like, it's Kansas City. And Kyle Long was like, I live in Kansas though, like 30 minutes away from Kansas City. Why are you yelling?
Kyle Long is hilarious. I like him on Twitter, man. I really do.
Yeah.
He's been very interactive. I told him come get some chicken whenever he wants to. That Kent Swanson comment. Nobody want to hear that, Kent. Nobody. You could have kept that to yourself, bro.
I feel like Kent's always looking for some like good dude, love him to death, but he always kind of looking for some attention. So I know what Kent's up to. You know, every time he tweets about the Royals, I'm just like, come on, Kent, man, let them boys have some time. Like we're not trying to win the World Series. Chill. But
yeah. Ken is a failed stand-up comedian in his own mind. He's good with the draft, though. I'll give him his props.
Yep.
So that caused the uproar this week, and it was hilarious. It was funny. Like you said, a long weekend, and we finally got through with the draft. So, how do you feel about draft grades? Is it too early to grade a draft? My opinion is I can grade it on the potential of what the players are going to be, but I won't actually grade the draft for like 3 years. That's how you really grade what they ended up being in the long run versus the potential of what they are right now.
No,
potentially I give it an A. I think it was an A draft.
Yeah,
a good draft.
No, I think you're doing it the right way, country. Like we have to, like it's so hard because like I even tell myself this, like it's what's today, May 7th? Man, they're not gonna play football in June. They're not gonna play football in July. Like football in August, like we still gotta wait 4 months before any of these dudes like what are they as players or like who's gonna get some snaps, like who's gonna be a surprise. One of the cool things about this year was like obviously knowing what the team needed, kind of watching more college film than I had done in the past. I just had more time. Getting to know more people in the organization, of course. And so I would give them like a B plus, just because, some people will say, well, why didn't they take a receiver early? Maybe they could have got a cornerback. And like, I can't really push back on those opinions. It's like, there's good reason for that. But look, they wanted to improve the offensive line. Obviously, Nick Bolton is a local, kind of a local pick coming from Missouri. But yeah, the fun thing is to go on just enter Google Chiefs 2012 draft class. Like the way you may have felt about it that year is totally different 3 years after the fact, and it gets really interesting a decade later where you're like is a 2013 draft class a success? It's Eric Fisher was the #1 pick, but he wasn't he's not a Hall of Famer, but he won a Super Bowl. So it's I can kind of go either way. When they drafted Chris Jones in 2016, I thought that was interesting at the time. The whole draft class with Tyreek. What year was that? Was that 15? I can't remember if that was 15, but the draft class of Tyreek Hill comes in, it's well, that's a success because I got Tyreek Hill in the 5th round. You're never going to get a player like that ever again. So I think you can say 3 years, who do I want to give a second contract to? Because by the 4th year, you got to honestly make a decision, especially if you don't have a first-round pick. So, all these guys in this year's draft, they'll be up for a contract in 2025. And you hope that you can give, at least 3 of those dudes contracts, and that they'll all be starters. You know who they are. They're going to be good dudes, both on the field and in the locker room. But, yeah, I don't think they had any I don't think they really made any misses this year, but it'll be interesting. 2024, you're man, Nick Bolton, he hasn't worked out, or Cornell Powell's not even on the team, or Creed Humphrey has been dealing with injuries. Like all that can happen. Like it can really happen. Or Nick Bolton's like a Pro Bowler. Creed Humphrey's like dude that just plays every Sunday. He and Pat got a good thing going. Past, being protected. Cornell Powell's like number 3 wide receiver. You know who he is. I really think Noah Gray is going to be fun. Like, can Noah Gray be good at football? Like, please. Like, it would just be nice to have him and Travis Kelce kind of working together. I don't know about Josh Kando. I don't know, y'all. Like, he might be good. He may not. I look at the tape and I'm like, he's tall, big, and athletic. Can he play football? Like, yeah. So, like, it'll be fascinating to know 3 years from now, I want to give a contract to this dude, this dude, this dude, and I'm going to let that dude, and that dude go to free agency and kind of, see who else comes after these draft picks. Because I wrote a story like 2 weeks ago, and you go through the research, and you're like, the whole 2017 draft would have been like a massive success beyond Patrick if Kareem Hunt's still on the team. But he's not on the team anymore. So with him not being on the team after 2018, and especially after 2019, they have to draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If Kareem Hunt is still on the team after his rookie contract, he gets a second deal, and you never even hear who Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in this city. So all these decisions will obviously create more down the line, but I think most teams want like 4 guys to work out. And if you do a really good job, 4 of them are going to be guys that are going to be around the team for 7-8 years.
Yeah, you're right about that. And speaking of Nick Bolton, my bad, country. Speaking of Nick Bolton, there was controversy with Nick Bolton pick. Like, seemed like half the Chiefs fans loved it, and half the Chiefs fans like, why? But Young King Ty made a comment talking about, I want to know who's going to take the first Nick Bolton hit. I'm curious about that too. So I want to get your opinions about Nick Bolton. What did you think about the draft pick, Nate?
I don't know how to evaluate linebackers right now, man. It's so hard. Like, I thought Willie Gay was going to be really good last year because I looked at the stuff he did at Mississippi State, and I was like, oh man, that's like a starter right there. You can just like plug him in. And then Steve Spagnuolo was like, nah, man, he's gonna have to learn the whole rookie season before he plays. So like, I want to believe it. I can go either way. What the Chiefs tell me is that the dude is super smart, super committed to football. He's not like the most athletic, but he's pretty good for what the team needs. And the thing that I complained about, and I know people have mentioned like Ben Neiman in the comments, is like, can he be better than Ben Neiman? Like that's like the first first hurdle. Like So Damian Wilson is not on the team anymore. He was a starter. Damian Wilson is in Jacksonville. So can you be better than Ben Neiman? Then can you be like a true starter? Then can you be really, really good? Like, because I think the plan for like Brett Veach and Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo is by next season in 2022, can we count on Willie Gay and Nick Bolton? Like, those are our 2 dudes. They're going to be on the field all 3 downs. They can hit people and they can cover. And obviously they got experience working together for a year. Like, I hope that's the case. I want it to happen. It would be cool. But playing linebacker in this league has gotten like really, really hard. Like, teams aren't running the ball on first down as much anymore. Like, they're just airing it out. Like, where's my 4 wide receivers? And where's like – it's funny because I watched Patrick do this. Like, if people want to go back and watch the Chiefs play the Broncos from like 2 years ago, Patrick comes up to the line of scrimmage or they're in shotgun. He kind of looks around and he's like, where are the linebackers at? Like, that's who we're going against. Like, and so – like, Andy Reid would call plays and they would be laughing because it would be Sammy Watkins on a linebacker. And it's just like, that wasn't happening in 2010. Like, so being a linebacker in the SEC and being like an all SEC player, like that's a good place to go get somebody. But man, these teams, man, they figure out like, okay, Anthony Hitchens, like, let's put you in coverage. And it's like, that's hard. So I'm cool if people are kind of hesitant on the pick, but I understand why the team did it because there wasn't that many good linebackers in this draft class to begin with. And if he's athletic enough and smart enough to stay on the field, he gives you a chance to like have some success. But I think mostly this defense is all as long as Steve Spagnuolo's on the team, Chuck, I think the defense is always going to come down to pass rush and secondary, and just don't F up in the middle of the field if you're a linebacker. Like, don't make mistakes, don't miss tackles, you know, get everybody lined up correctly. But we'll see. Like, he's probably he's going to have to play more than Willie Gay last year, in my opinion. Like, he's got to play more. And a lot of times as rookies, you just, hey, man, make all the mistakes now so that you can get better in year 2 and year 3.
Yeah.
Okay, Nate, since we got you, it's a little off topic. Can you discuss the dilemma of Ben Neiman? What is the aura around Ben Neiman before Charles busts a gasket?
Yeah.
You mentioned Neiman 3 times. That's the most he's ever been mentioned on this show. And like, I can see smoke coming from Charles' ears.
Right. Here's like my Stephen A. impression, because I know everybody on the team, right? Ben Neiman, great kid.
He is great.
Very, very cool dude. Super overachiever. Like, super overachiever. Dude wasn't drafted, and he's still on the roster. So no matter what people say, Ben Neiman has succeeded in life.
Agreed.
All that said, like, at some point, you can't really rely on undrafted. Like, you know how good you have to be undrafted and just stay on the roster year after year after year and, like, be a fringe starter? Like, you got to be like Doug Baldwin. Like, Doug Baldwin is someone who was undrafted and has balled out in Seattle and has just, like, overcome every obstacle. Like, that doesn't happen in the NFL. So what I would tell Ben Neiman, and I'm sure what the Chiefs told him, is if you get another year, and this matters, if you make it to the 4th year in the league, you get the league pension. Like, that's massive. So that means you're going to get money essentially from the league for the duration. Like, no matter when you're cut, like, obviously there's all the concussion and, like, legal stuff about, like, lawsuits and whatever. But, like, if you get the pension, like, you've ultimately succeeded. And I've said this a few times, but Ben Neiman is somebody that you can maybe use in dime coverage, and, like, he's an above average special teams player. That's kind of how he made the roster to begin with. And because, like, they had like 2 linebackers you trusted in 2018. I was there, and I was like, ooh-wee, they're going to give up a lot of points this year because Ben Neiman is playing better than Emmanuel Smith. How many people remember Emmanuel Smith? But, like, he was just better than him at camp. So, like, it made all the right sense in the world. But the Chiefs are
I thought you probably remember Emmanuel Smith.
Yeah, but the Chiefs are smart. The Chiefs know they got to get better at the linebacker position, and it's a business. So if we can get better at a position, but you still know the defense, you still know Spag, you still know Anthony Hitchens, they're obviously tight. Like, let's give you 1 more year. Let's see where it works. If something goes wrong with Nick or Willie, if one of them gets hurt, like, at least you know the system. At least we know you're not going to, like, screw up your assignments. But yeah, I mean, Ben Neiman catches a lot of flack, and it's okay. I mean, I understand that, like, the dude is undrafted. He doesn't look like other linebackers, and he has found a way to make it work. And so when free agency came up, I kind of knew that it was smart for him to kind of stay with the Chiefs, and it was smart for the Chiefs to be like, at least we have somebody we can, you know, trust for not a lot of money on the salary cap, and then we'll reevaluate this next year. Because if we draft a linebacker and that linebacker is good, then he will ultimately replace Ben Neiman a year from now, and that's the business of the NFL.
Yeah, but I feel like Ben Neiman knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Shout out to Trick Daddy. That's why he's still on the roster.
Yeah, Nate, do you think that's a Dave Tobe thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Dave Tobe playing a big part in that?
You know it, Boogie. You know it. I mean, look, when training camp ends and they have to make the cuts to the 53 guys, I can't say this definitively, but I think Andy Reid probably gives Dave Toll the last 5 roster spots because those dudes are going to play special teams. Who do you trust? Like, hey, man, we can't be giving up block punts. We can't be missing up field goals. We can't be messing up kickoff coverage. So if you trust him, okay, he can be on the team. Like Marcus Kemp, right? Marcus Kemp.
I was just about to say that.
Like, hey, Marcus Kemp knows the playbook in and out, kids. He knows everything, all right? So if the coaching staff trust him, guess where he gonna be? He gonna be on that roster. Now,
right.
They drafted Cornell Powell, right?
Yeah.
Logical replacement for Marcus Kemp whenever you want to make that decision, whether that's this year or next year. So, like, all these things change. But, like, I remember, like, when I first started covering the team, like, Frank Zombo was, like, kind of that guy where it was like, hey, man, Frank Zombo, he be on this roster because he knows the special team. He know the playbook. He's not going to miss his assignment. He may not get there because he's not as athletic as you would want, but and he's not, and you have to think about this too, like bottom end of the roster dudes, those dudes cannot mess up the locker room. So like, don't say nothing. Don't be all, arrogant with like, know your lane, stay in it, keep the locker room cool, answer the questions what the coaches have. And if you do all that and then they can rely on you, like you're not gonna get hurt. Then yeah, like the last 5 guys on the roster kind of make the team because Dave Toll is like, okay, he's gonna stay in his lane. He knows what he's gonna do. He's not trying to be, super, over the top with it. And so that person is going to give us value over the course of 16 games. And, if we need to go get somebody to replace them, they're a little bit easier to go replace. But we like who they are. Everybody on the team likes them. It makes sense to keep them around, even if the fans are like, why is Nick Keiser on the team? Like, why is Nick, like, how many people were like, why is Nick Keiser on the team? And I'm like, because he know how to block, y'all. He not out here trying, like, you think Nick Keiser is out here running post routes? Like, I feel bad for Nick Keiser. There's 2 plays last year. It was a snow game against Denver where Andy was like, you know what, Nick, you've been working these last 6 weeks. I see what you out here doing. We're gonna call a play for you. Mm-hmm. And then he dropped it, and everybody was like, but you were so wide open. Mm-hmm. So like, this is why Andy Reid is a player's coach, right? He be out here working that film for hours and is like, you know what? I'm gonna get Nick Keiser open. You don't have to do that. No one said you had to do that, Andy. Like Eric Bieniemy and them, they're looking at the play sheet like, let's run one for Nick. Let's give Nick one. And then it's just like he's so wide open. And the second one, this play I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life, y'all. The game where they lost to Oakland. Patrick's looking, he's looking, ain't nobody open. And so he rolls to his right. He's like, nobody's open. Holy smokes, what is Nick Keiser doing in the middle of the field? And he was like, and I give Pat all the credit in the world because, like, is Aaron Rodgers throwing you that football? He might not, dog.
No.
Is Drew Brees throwing that football? Like, he might be like, where's Tyreek? But Pat has said this from day one. If you're open, you're getting the ball. So Pat's like, there's Nick. Here you go. Like, he just laced that thing. And it hit Nick right in the hands. And I just try to tell people all the time, imagine if you were on the middle of an NFL field, y'all. And this man threw you open like 30 yards down the field. You drop it too. You know you would drop it. The problem is he just be out here blocking. Like, that's like he not – in what world? Nick was like, I mean, this is what the coaches tell me to do, right? Kind of on the open space. Be available for the quarterback. I'm available for the quarterback. We hadn't practiced this all week. And you can just see the ball come, and he's just like, no. shout out to Nick Kaiser, love him to death, but like there's a reason why he dropped the ball because they don't practice that.
Right. Do you think in that moment you seen his whole career flash before his eyes?
It's like, and I know what I kind of know what it feels like because you talk to guys and it's like Pat does so many things that you can't predict that it's just hard. It's just like I talked to DeMarcus Robinson and he's just like, hey man, sometimes we just be out here freelancing because Pat's not, the play's broken down. And so you got to be really focused when the ball comes to you because you're like, you're not supposed to be throwing the ball here. But he's so, like, Pat's so good at it. So if you're Nick, you're like, this is my one opportunity. I'm going to make a catch. And then you start getting, like, super arrogant. I'm going to get this catch. I'm going to shake one man. I'm going to break another tackle. I'm going to be on Sports Center. Holy smokes, I dropped the ball. It's just it happens that quickly, kids.
Oh, Nick.
You're like, I'm open. Here comes the ball. I'm about to get my shine. Oh, and now I've dropped it. I've dropped the ball. They're not going
like a deuce.
You know what? Does DeMarcus Robinson fit in that category of guys? He knows the playbook in and out. He's smart.
Yep.
He does make some decisions. Like he had a lot of mental mistakes last year.
Yeah.
And this whole thing where he goes backwards first before he goes forward. But I think he's reliable for the most part. But does he fit into that category too?
Yep, he does. He does. He plays on special teams quite a bit. And here's another thing that, like, I hope DeMarcus understands this year versus last year. It became clear because Sammy was hurt, so there was a lot of games where maybe a lot of those yards, those stats could go to DeMarcus. The problem is mentally it's kind of tough because he was in a contract year, so you want to get those numbers as high as possible while also trying to win so that you can reap the benefits in free agency. I felt a lot of times DeMarcus was trying too hard. Because he knew I'm trying to put stuff on tape so I can show other teams, here's what I can do. So if I catch a ball and go backwards, maybe I can like shake a guy and I'll get extra yards. And that'll show toughness, tenacity, desire. And it just didn't work out. Like let's not forget the Saints game where like
oh man.
Even everybody that like I know loves the team, watch the team, family members, like people obviously know that I cover the team. Like just because it was like right before halftime, and my text was just full of just like, what is he doing? And I'm just like, he out here, he's trying hard, he's trying very hard, and not successfully. So
how do you separate Nate the fan from Nate the media guy? Or what's the proper term?
I love the sport. So that's like the first thing. Like I'm always gonna love it just as much as like you guys do. I just have this cool job where I can ask questions that I know you guys think about, right? Or that you guys want to hear. One of the cool things last year, and I wrote about this, but like I got to watch, I didn't travel for away games because, coronavirus.
Right.
So I would be in the press box for home games, but I would watch it on my couch in my living room for road games. Yeah. So a couple times my dad would watch the game with us. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool to be like, what is he thinking versus what I'm thinking, right? Like he's still a complete fan. He still wants to know like, well, why is Steve Spagnuolo blitzing, versus, running more zone coverage? Or why does the team do this? And so it's kind of like you mentioned, being two things in one. But because I've been a fan for all my life, I kind of understand what I hope, at least I should say. I hope I know what fans are thinking and feeling and what they want to know about the game after the fact that you can't really know unless you like ask the player or ask the coach. I think there was a real responsibility during the Super Bowl because it became clear about the third quarter, y'all, where I was looking up and I was just like, whoo, that's hard for me because dog, they only lost one game all year. So as a reporter, you're trying to anticipate, well, what's the story if they win? Like they'd be back-to-back champs. It's a dynasty. Mahomes has beaten Brady in the postseason. Like there's all these thoughts I have in my head. And then as a fan, I understand too, like, man, if they win 2 in a row, whew, Kansas City, man, they ain't gonna be able to say nothing to anybody. Like they would have been the Chiefs would have been the first team in 15 years to go back to back. Like that would have been massive.
Yeah,
so
it would have been.
All of a sudden it's the fourth quarter. The ball bounces off of Darrell Williams' face. Shout out to him. And it's just like, okay, they're going to lose today. Like, wow, they're going to lose. And I know what every fan's thinking. They don't look right. And Britt Reed, like, almost killed a girl 2 days before they flew off the plane. He's not here. Andy Reid can't be in the right mind. And I would tend to agree with fans here because they were one of the best teams I've ever seen. They're one of the best teams in recent modern football. And I've talked to people not in the Chiefs organization. I've talked to players from other teams. They make so many adjustments in the game that it's insane. So, okay, you're going to play cover 3. Cool. We're going to do this, this, and this. Okay. When they played Buffalo the first time in October, you're gonna just play back and just run, like, okay, Clyde, here's the ball 100 times, run it down their throat. They made so many adjustments against the Buccaneers in the first game where it was comical, where the Buccaneers were like, well, this is what we do. We out here playing man coverage. And they're like, do you know Tyreek Hill's the fastest guy on the field? Right. So they were just like, every time Pat would come to the line and be like, okay, we're adjusting. Run deep. Like basically, like these dudes can look at one another and be like, you see this? Okay, there's the adjustment. He's going deep. They didn't adjust in that game. And it's shocking to watch because the offensive line's playing terrible. You could run a bunch of stuff to make it easier on your offensive lineman. They didn't do that. They didn't give the ball to Clyde. Like they didn't do a ton of different things in the game. And so I know what fans are thinking, and it's kind of like my responsibility to be like, well, why are they not playing well? But I also understand that like fans want to know from Andy's perspective how weird this all is. Because what I asked him was, hey man, like we know what you said about Ariel, we know what the organization has said, but like, what's it like for you? And have you talked to your son? Because because I kind of knew he was in the hospital at the time. And he gave, I think, as honest an answer as a coach can when you've been, basically undressed as a coaching staff in the biggest game of the season. And I know fans want to hear that. So a lot of times I can kind of go back and forth where it's like, I want to acknowledge the fans as best I can, but I want to get to like the truth of what's going on with the team as much as possible. And it's hard to match those two things at the same time, but you're trying a lot. And look, I mean, I think the most memorable thing, I know what show I'm on, but I think the most memorable thing from the divisional playoff win against the Houston Texans is Chuck leaving the stadium and then them rolling them. So I understand fans probably want to know who Chuck is. So I made it a point, and I talked to my editor, and he seemed cool with it. Let's go find Chuck's whole story. Because you only know so much about him making the decision to leave, the video coming out, Patrick obviously acknowledging Chuck. And so if that gets your thought process going, if I think that, I'm pretty sure some fans are thinking that. So, like, let's give them the information that they want,
Yeah, definitely. And, man, Nate, it's crazy because I mentioned this too, man. I mentioned this on a previous show. I think it was after the Super Bowl when we had lost. I said I was in the clubhouse, right? And I was in one of the rooms doing the little pregame show for the Super Bowl, and an Eagles fan had mentioned that whenever Andy Reid has gotten distracted before, like off the field, like in regards to anything involving his family or him just in general, like his mind doesn't be in the right mind frame all of a sudden. And it definitely showed in the Super Bowl, man. Like you said, no adjustments were made. Like we weren't playing like how we usually played, and it was ugly.
It was. One thing that I know is that, like, as talented as Patrick is, as much of a wizard as Andy Reid is, like understanding football and play calling, Eric Bieniemy, like I've been through some conversations where, like, you understand how human these people are. Like, imagine the dignity that Eric Bieniemy has to show year after year when he doesn't get hired for a head coaching job, even though everybody knows he should probably be a head coach. Andy Reid's human. Like, it's just, it was terrible timing. I mean, it's never, let's say this, it's never a good time to, allegedly, it's never good to drink, to acknowledge that to the police, and then get in the car and drive. What was it? I think the police report said they believe he was traveling at a speed of like 83 miles an hour. Like, what? Like, what are we doing? Like, getting on the highway, and guys, like, the facility is like 2 minutes away. Like, it's a terrible look. So, let's say that off the top, but like, I mean, it was just terrible timing. All the guys are human. And so one example that I can give, and I heard this on another show, but like Trent Dilfer was telling, I think it was Ryan Russo, and I kind of heard about it from another person, but they were like, you should listen to it because in this context, it kind of makes sense. But like, if Andy Reid's the leader, if he's the play caller, and he kind of not, like, there's other stuff going on in his life, it's totally understandable for him to be hesitant, or to him to be, cloudy, or him to be like not focused. Okay, so you don't sound as confident with the play call. So now Eric Bieniemy's like, what's going on in Andy's head? Like, do I need to do more for Andy? Like, do we all need to pull our weight differently? That gets relayed to Patrick. That gets relayed to the rest of the players. It kind of filters down. And so it's just like with anybody. Like, if your boss isn't right, now the focus isn't completely on the main objective. So it goes the same way in football too. I mean, it's just, it's terrible. I don't know. I know some people have asked recently, like, what do you think is going to happen now that Britt Reed's been charged? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the maximum is 7 years. They could potentially do a plea deal if he wants. I know the family for Ariel Young does not want that, but it's either 7 years. I would say it's either somewhere between 4 to 7 years. It's just a general guess, but like, yeah. So I mean, it's wild, but that happens a lot. Just the further you remove yourself from that time, it's like I'll just always remember they didn't make any adjustments, and how different is the game if Tyreek Hill just catches the first pass in the end zone. And instead of going up 3-0, you go up 7-0. And now the Buccaneers have to think, man, is it going to happen all over again? Are they just going to like torch us? But you got 3 points. Then there was a 3-and-out. Then Travis Kelce dropped the third down, and it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah. Who was that team? I don't know. I don't even know what game you're talking about. I don't know who that was. It wasn't the Chiefs. I've never seen that team before.
I know it's so hard to watch because look at the week before. They smashed the Bills. I mean, it smashed them. It was embarrassing. And so for me, I look at teams like, what are the Ravens doing in free agency? What are they doing in the draft? What are the Bills doing? Like, okay, the Chargers kind of putting something nice together. Then I roll through the tape of last year, and I'm like, man, nobody touched this team in the AFC. And then you play the Super Bowl clips, and you're just like, Like what a weird world that was. That wasn't, and they'll admit it. I think one of the cool things knowing all these guys is as the season goes on, you're gonna start to learn more. And it's like I think guys are gonna admit, like, yeah, that wasn't us. It was kind of a weird environment. Like, obviously, it should motivate you for this upcoming season, but it's weird, and I've done it a lot. It's weird to go on Game Pass and be like, let me watch the AFC Championship game. And it's just like, they killed those dudes. And then it's like, let me go to the Super Bowl. And it's like, that's like a different in the same universe.
It's night and day. It's a night and day difference. But the only saving grace about the Super Bowl losing like that is I think it lit eternal flame in Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the leaders of the team, like Tyron, Patrick, Chris. I think those guys got these eternal flame for this year. And man, look out. They gonna lay waste to everybody this year. I don't think it's gonna be no sleeping walking. Last year we debated if they sleepwalk through the season. I don't think they're gonna be wide open for every game this year. There's gonna be no letdowns.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, there were times where like the coaching staff and the players were kind of like, how many days left? Like, when did the playoffs start? Like that, and again, that's human too. Like I think it was human for them last year to be like, man, Miami's playing really hard. Like the Dolphins are trying to make a statement. All right, let's turn on the switch. And then they turned it on, and that game was over in like 5 minutes. I think you're right, though, Country. Like the idea of like Tyrann Mathieu, Travis Kelce, like these are guys that like supremely confident, supremely athletic, very good leaders. And for Patrick specifically, man, the organization, like I don't think people understand what Brett Veach just did for Patrick Mahomes. So that it can, in return, I know they didn't get a receiver in free agency. I know they didn't get Trent Williams. But if this offensive line is as good as people think it's going to be, and the fact that Brett Veach was like, I'm going to help get this offensive line so we never have another Super Bowl like that again. How would you not be excited for the upcoming season? How would you not want to show people that, all right, we went through 3 straight AFC Championship games. Well, let's host a 4th. Let's go back to the Super Bowl. Like, let's show that, like, just because what the Buccaneers did for one night is not going to be something that you can just take the blueprint and match it to whatever team in October. Like, guys, Patrick's different. He's just so different. Like,
he's an animal, man.
Like,
he's Michael Jordan.
It's like the Saints tried everything to beat him up last year. He took that shot, and I was like, I've never seen Patrick Mahomes get hit like that. Next drive,
I'm pretty mad about that too.
Yeah, he comes out furious. Next drive, they go right down the field and score a touchdown. And it's just like, can Kirk Cousins do that?
Hell no.
Can Jalen Hurts do that? Can Kyler Murray do that? Like you just start asking questions. It's like, well, I'm not gonna like Drew Brees can't do that because he's kind of limited based on his age, and he was already dealing with his ribcage situation. But you just start thinking of scenarios, and I do this all the time. Just start asking questions like, can Justin Herbert do that? Can Drew Lock do that? Can David Carr do that? Like you just like, okay, the Raiders have played out of their minds for 3.5 quarters. They gotta at least get a field goal to tie the game, or just go down the field in less than 2 minutes to win the game. And you just start asking yourself, like, who can do this? Like who other quarterback? Like maybe Aaron Rodgers, maybe Russell Wilson. Can Jimmy Garoppolo do that? I want Chiefs fans to understand. Just insert quarterback. Can Baker Mayfield do this? So if he's motivated, if he's healthy, if he's protected, why would you not trust what you've already seen before?
Exactly. And I want to switch it up just a little bit. I've been hearing a lot of wide receiver talk during the show today, so I got to get this question off for the audience here. I know DJ Gist had mentioned about Sammy Watkins not being on the team anymore. So with that being said, my guy Nate wants to know, who do you think gets more receptions on the team this year? Demarcus Robinson, McCall Harmon, Powell, or CH out the backfield?
CH is an interesting like throw in. I kind of like that.
I do too.
I kind of like that.
He's a wild card. That's a wild card guess right there. I like that.
I'm gonna say. I won't be surprised if it's Clyde, but I think this is the year where they need to find out if McCole Hardman is going to make another jump. So strategically, Andy, Eric Bieniemy, guys like Greg Lewis, used to be the wide receivers coach, now he's the running backs coach. They should really design plays to see what McCole can do. Because it's year 3, that's usually when wide receivers take off. There is no Sammy, of course, which is why the question was asked, and I appreciate it, Nathan. I would say it should be McCole. It might be Clyde, because Clyde, I think, is a really interesting dude. Like, he's a better receiver than what he even showed last year. Because I would see things in practice, and I would be like, man, when are they gonna get to that? And they just didn't. They never got to those kind of plays. But I think McCole is really motivated. I think McCole has the talent to do it. It's just, can you be consistent enough? Can you concentrate all the time? Can he get his chemistry with Patrick a little bit tighter? You know, like when Patrick got on the field with Tyreek, they kind of built something real quick. I mean, Patrick and Kelsey, it's just, I mean, it's insane how good those dudes are together, especially on third down. So it's Patrick's responsibility to really get McCole going. It's Andy Reid's job to sort of design some more plays for McCole. And like we said before in the draft class, this is the 3rd year of the 2019 draft class. Like, I think Juan Thornhill's probably the best pick so far. But let's see what McCole does in year 3. And if he plays really well, then you can be confident giving him a second contract. You can be confident saying, maybe we don't need to draft a wide receiver next year. Maybe we don't need to get somebody in free agency because we gave him more snaps and he gave us more production. And if he plays better in the postseason, then that will be, the cherry on top.
Yeah, if I was McCole Hardman, I would move my locker right next to Pat. I would start hanging out with Jackson and Brittany. I would start playing with his dogs. I would get as close as I could to Patrick Mahomes.
Jackson and Brittany.
I would be babysitting Sterling. I would get as close as I could to Patrick Mahomes this offseason. Hey, that's where the money at, bro. That's where the money's gonna be at.
It's true. Hey, which teammate went to surprise? Yes, went to surprise Arizona with the family. Travis and Travis and his lady. I mean, they hang out all the time. I mean, all of it matters. Like, I'm one of the people that believes everything matters. Like, every little piece. Like, take the chemistry that you got off the field onto the field. Take the chemistry that you got onto the field off to the field, and really build like that bond. I mean, it all matters, right? So I completely agree with you. Like,
and the thing is, I hate to interrupt you, but the thing is, I think Pat sees the potential in McCole. That's why he's so hard on McCole. He's not like that with anybody else. I've never seen him yell at Travis. I've never seen him yell at Tyreek. Well, nobody yelled at them. I've never seen him yell at any other. Like you said, Nick Kaiser dropped a wide open. He didn't even yell. He didn't even care.
Right.
McCole, it gets to him, and he attacks. He yells at McCole. He's the only guy he does that to.
Yep.
So either he sees potential in him, or he just don't like him. So, I think he likes him as a teammate. Yeah. I think he recognizes the talent. He just wants it, and he wants McCole to want it just as much as he wants it. for McCall. So McCall got to get it right this year, man.
Yeah, one thing that like I want to tell people here, and whenever like that's why Sammy Watkins was so important, because Sammy don't need the ball all the time to be a professional. Now his issue was the legs, the injuries, the calf, the hamstring. He had a lot of muscle tension issues. That's fine. Like that sadly is what Sammy's career is kind of going to be known for. Is like Super Bowl champion, and like right next to it is dude was like incredible, like has so much talent, but like he can only tap into it so much because of it's a brutal physical sport. The one thing that I always will respect Sammy is just the ultimate professional. Like not gonna get mad, gonna be very encouraging. I think Sammy and Tyreek have done a really good job being around McCole, making him understand like, the business of the game and understanding like the magnitude of like the opportunity that you have playing with Patrick Mahomes, because Sammy comes from the EJ Manuel days, comes from the Jared Goff days, and was like, hey man, it ain't like this everywhere else with Patrick Mahomes. So I think for McCole, it's going to be fascinating to know, can he harness that potential? I think he's really motivated because the team wasn't really shy about like, hey man, like we was going to give Juju Smith-Schuster $11 million because we think he's a little bit more reliable than you. So until you show us, like, it's a business. I will say that all the time. Like, it's a business. Handle your job. If you do it at a really high level, they're going to pay you. You're going to get a lot of respect. But I think a lot of it is on Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Eric Bieniemy to pull this dude along and say, hey, let's give him every opportunity. You may be upset in October this upcoming year when he drops a pass, but they got to keep feeding him just to know like what he has.
Yeah. And you know what? Another example is the Buffalo game. He muffs the kick return, the punt or whatever.
Yeah, the punt return.
And everybody stops by, like, pick your head up, get up, come on. We need you, we need you, we need you. They get him right back into the flow. They get him right back in the game. He scores the first touchdown. It's like, I don't know if it's cool that you have to do that. I don't think you have to do it every time, but it truly shows that they care about McCole. Like they know if we get McCole going, you can't really stop us. Like who you gonna guard? You know what I'm saying? So that's another reason why I love Noah Gray too. Because if he's anything potentially what he could be, then who you gonna guard? You got to man up everybody. You know what I'm saying? So
right. And the thing that I know this is what Andy wants to do with Noah Gray. All right, we break the huddle and we line up with two tight ends over here, right? And they used to do this with Alex Smith, where they would come out in a formation and they say, all right, now everybody move. And like all of a sudden, Travis Kelce would go over here, Noah Gray will go across the formation. It'll be a completely different look, but we got your linebackers on the field because you got two tight ends. And like defensive coaches will say, hey man, two tight ends, hey, bring a linebacker in. But if you put Noah Gray in the slot to the left and Travis Kelce in the slot to the right, spread everybody out, now things get really interesting because you got to pick who you want to cover most or who you're going to shade your coverage to. Look, man, I saw some things in training camp last year that I cannot tell you, but if Noah Gray is as talented as I think he could be, and if he picks up the offense really quickly, man, they could do some interesting stuff where you just didn't see it last year. And so, all these young guys matter. I mean, McCole, Clyde, Noah Gray, Cornell Powell, who had a really nice college season last year.
Yeah,
Pringle. All these young dudes are really going to matter because the defense has to respect Tyreek's speed, and we can't be out here getting smoked by Travis every third down. So that here's all the opportunities for everybody else to succeed.
Exactly. And let's get into Noah Gray. Let's get into some of these draft picks anyway. My bad, Boogie. I'll let you get in next. My fault, man. So speaking of Noah Gray,
go ahead.
Do you buy into the baby Zeus hype based on what you've seen on film from his new college days?
I love it. I mean, I want to. I want to love this dude so much. I'm ready. I'm ready, y'all. I'm ready to give my football heart to Noah Gray just because I kind of know what the offense is, right? If you already know what the offense is, you already know, hey, if we get two of these dudes that can kind of do similar things. Now, I don't think he'll ever be Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is a Hall of Famer. There is really nobody like him.
Right.
But, you know, the Patriots used to run offense with two tight ends where they were kind of unstoppable just because you're having these guys that are so flexible and can move around. And just think he, like, blocks a couple plays for Clyde, and then a couple plays later, he's out on a little out route, and he catches the ball and he gets a first down. I mean, there's a lot of options there. I want to dream. I want to dream that it's going to work. I do that with a lot of the late round draft picks. Guys, I was like, you know what? Darwin Thompson's going to be a player, guys. You wait. Just you wait. I want to believe in the late round draft pick. But you know, we'll see. I think there's a chance. But I'll have a better answer in camp because here's something that I started to realize covering the team, you know, day after day. Go to St. Joe. Be out there in that hot sun. Run the same thing over again. And the coaches just drill you. They're like, run it again. And you're just like, ooh, I'm tired just watching y'all do this. Like, so if he can hold up in training camp, then I'm like, okay, he might work out. But, you know, Andy Reid's training camps are really hard. Like, I can't tell you guys how hard they are. Where it's just like, how many and this is an idea, and I hope nobody does this, but like this upcoming training camp, I'm honestly gonna try to figure out how much does Tyreek run, y'all. He runs like 25 9 routes. It's insane. It's just like, okay, next one, go. And it's just like, when is his hamstring gonna snap? My hamstring hurts just watching him. And so they'll go for 2.5, 3 hours, and you're just like, oh my God, like Andy, this is absurd. But what happens in September? They smoke people. And it's just like, it's proven, it works. Some coaches are like, I don't want to beat my team up before the season starts. Andy Reid is very much like, if I make it hard now, it should be easier when we actually play somebody that doesn't know what's coming. And that has been the case. I think they've won like 20 straight games in September. It's absurd.
Yeah. You got it, Boogie.
No, St. Joe, if you've never been to St. Joe, as a fan, you have to go to St. Joe at least once. Especially on scrimmage days. Like, it's the best. And it gets very hot, and there's no shade.
No shade.
Nowhere. Like, so bring Gatorade, bring water, and binoculars. But, yeah, you have to go to St. Joe. It's only a 45-minute drive. It's a terrible drive, too. It's a very boring drive. But it's worth it, though. You got to go. You got to go.
Hey, Nate, so we got he made it seem like he wasn't done picking people up. Veach made it seem like he wasn't done picking people up. Out of all the free agents that's available, who you think is most likely for him to sign? Got like Justin Houston, we got Breland out there. We heard something about Steven Nelson. What you think?
Look, do people know my history with Steven Nelson? Like, oh man. Okay, real quick. I'll answer your question, Boogie. This is just a guess. I put up there like 2 days ago. I think there's a chance they still sign Breland at some point, like Rashad Breland. They probably need one more cornerback, and he already knows the system. So just figure it out, fellas. Like how much money is guaranteed? It's probably another 1-year deal. You know, Brett Veach is very clear on like, if you play 8 games, you make this much. If you play 16 games, you make this much. If you do this in the postseason, you make there's a lot of incentives. And so sometimes agents and the team can like go back and forth on that, and it's just like, can my guy get more money just up front? And the team's like, we need him to perform. like,
Right.
I'm just not gonna give you all the money now. Like, you gotta kind of work for it. So again, I understand both sides. I think Bashad it makes the most sense. I would love it if Justin Houston walked through that door again. Woo-wee. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't look. I'm saying that from like a story, like from a reporter standpoint. Woo! Give me Justin Houston. It's probably not gonna happen. The last guy was Steven Nelson.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna try to be as real as I can. Steven Nelson, fine gentleman. Pretty good football player, despite him like not being that great in Kansas City up until this last year. Contract year, kids, is as Therese Paylor would always say, the contract year, if you got talent, is kind of undefeated. Had his best season with the Chiefs in a contract year, made a lot of money in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh realized that there's only so much of a ceiling to Steven Nelson, so they cut him, because what you find out is to get anybody who you think is a starter on the free agency market, you have to overpay that person, because that team wants him, this team wants him, and this team wants to be on the phone with him. Like, can we just get on the phone and talk to you? And the agent's like, no, I already got 3 teams that I know want him. So, they overpaid. The cap went down. They cut Steven Nelson. Nobody has signed Steven Nelson since. That's kind of the point, kids. Like, is Steven Nelson difficult to work with? Perhaps. Did Steven Nelson like Bob Sutton? No, he did not. Was Steve Nelson kind of corrupted by maybe Marcus Peters? Maybe. I walk up to Steven Nelson in 2018. They're giving up 1 million points. And I go, hey, man, can I just ask you a couple questions? Like, want to know what's going on with the secondary? Is Eric Berry going to play? I'm just trying to get, Steven to talk. He's like, I'm not going to talk until, God, I can't remember what the quote was. He's like, I'm not going to talk for the rest of the year until I get my bag. And I was like, you sure you want to do that? You sure? Like, you want to, come on, man. We had a very contentious time in the locker room to the point that, it is what it is. I don't know if he fits Spagnuolo's system, if that makes sense. Like, on a football level. Like,
I think so either.
I would tell them to go sign Basad Breeland. Okay, that would be my recommendation to the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go sign the guy who's been pretty good the last few years.
Nate, you want to hear something crazy? Steve Nelson was the first initial podcast guest we had on this show. Me and Charles. We interviewed Steven Nelson for over an hour. It was actually a great interview. We talked about his whole college and all that stuff. I messed the audio up. We never got to release it.
Oh, no.
So, with that in mind, I always kind of never went hard on Steve Nelson, because he showed us so much love and respect and all that. Hey, chill out. So he brought us this big old interview where he just really burnt that bridge last year. He just kept going, and I just couldn't take it no more. But if we get back with Steven Nelson, and Steve, I still kind of got a little bit of love for you. You have to have the big pie, whipped cream on top, and whatever drink you need to watch it down. There's no way we sign Steven Nelson. There's no way we sign Steven Nelson.
Hey, Nate, one more. Melvin Ingram, because we had him in for a visit too. What about him?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that would be a pretty good signing too. If part of it is he had a knee injury last year, so you need to figure out what his medical situation is, and if his body's healed up the right way. I think Melvin is a smart dude, and he knows pass rushers make $10+ million every year. because that's how important they are to go get the quarterback. I don't know if the Chiefs didn't meet him where he wanted in terms of the money, and I don't know how much that's going to change because they don't have a lot of cap space left. But look, Melvin Ingram didn't want to sign a deal with the Chargers. I mean, it's on Hard Knocks where he was just like, no, I want more money. And I completely understand that. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I haven't really heard anything about that since. I'd heard more about Bashaud Breeland of late than Melvin Ingram. But I mean, it wouldn't be a bad fit. It's just a matter of like, do you want, you know, Brett Veach always says this, but like, do you want to keep some cap space available so that you can sign a guy in like the middle of the season, or do you want to sign Melvin Ingram now and you don't have any cap space for the rest of the year unless somebody gets hurt or you cut somebody surprisingly and it opens up a little bit. So that's a decision they're going to have to make. I don't know what they're going to do. But Bashaud Breeland will cost less, I think, than Melvin Ingram, which, again, it goes to, like, Breeland's benefit.
Shoot, I'm kind of with you on that. Been hearing little rumors that Breeland could be close to making a decision, like, as far as staying here. So we'll just see what happens with that. But I just want to say this real quick about Steven Nelson. I definitely want to give him love for, you know, letting us interview him and everything. But, dog, you burned too many bridges, man, with some tweets, dog, talking about this is the best organization I ever played for, no cap. And you did nothing with the Steelers. The Steelers as a team did nothing. So, bro, you got to do a lot, bro. You got to do a lot to come back here, dog.
Yeah.
I just got to say, just keep that same energy, bro. Don't try to come back over here when it's hot. You know?
Yeah, I got friends in Pittsburgh. I know Mark Caboli, who's our beat writer with The Athletic in Pittsburgh. And I had heard good things that he had, like, you know, I don't know if there was like a reputation about Steven that was like super negative. I don't want to say that, but I did hear that he was like he was just happier in Pittsburgh. And so he had better relationships with people in Pittsburgh. It kind of sucks that, you know, they kind of looked at their cap sheet and was like, well, we can't get rid of TJ Watt, you know, but we got to get rid of somebody, you know. And so they obviously made the decision with Steven. I mean, Steven is a good player. He's never going to be great, but he's good. He can be a starter for you. But I heard he was so – I don't know what Bob Sutton did to this man would be my question. Like, what did Bob Sutton do to you? Because you were so angry, sir. You were so angry. And then he left, and then he went to Pittsburgh. He went to Pittsburgh, and he was pretty happy. He was a pretty good dude. So I hope he's – you know, I know he's hungry for the next opportunity. I don't know where it's going to be. I'd be shocked if it was here, but hey, you know, crazy things happen all the time. But I heard he was a much easier guy to deal with after he left Kansas City.
Right. So let's get on with the next offensive stud the Chiefs drafted. This was their second pick. Let's get on to Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey, he looks like a dude that's going to be in the league for a very long time. Say like a 12-year vet, maybe a future All-Pro. So what's your opinions about Creed Humphrey being the future center for the Chiefs?
I think they want him to start, honestly. I know they signed Austin Blythe in free agency for a 1-year deal. I think if everything goes well, like Creed Humphrey is going to be your starter. You know, I've made some comparisons to like what they did with Mitch Morse back in 2015. Like, he was the guy, came from Missouri, you know, similar region. He was really good at Missouri. He just came right into the league and was really good with the Chiefs. He signed a pretty big deal with Buffalo when he reached free agency. So, yeah, I think Creed is a player that I trust. A lot of scouts say that, like, he's just a hard-nosed dude. And the benefit for him, and I kind of wrote about this a little bit, but the benefit for him is that he's going to be playing with Orlando Brown, who used to be his college teammate at Oklahoma. So, I mean, again, if Patrick Mahomes is protected, all them dudes might go to the Pro Bowl. Because, like,
just might.
like all those dudes might go to the Pro Bowl. So, like, it's definitely out there for him. It's a possibility. I think it was a really smart pick, just because not a lot of teams needed a center, and you got him in the second round, and it's just like, hey, if he starts on day one and is really good, like no one will ever complain about that draft pick. It'll just be like, hey, we got a starter. That dude's really good. You know, it'll be fun to see in training camp, like his relationship with Patrick, because he used to play with Kyler Murray at Oklahoma, and then Jalen Hurts transferred, and so he played with Creed for a year as well. And so Creed understands how to play with mobile quarterbacks. It'll be cool to see how many reps the coaches give him early with Patrick, and if Patrick starts to like him, now you understand why he could be a starter next season.
Yeah, and then like the final offensive selection they made, because I mean you already mentioned Cornell Powell that he's probably gonna be like a special teams guy more than likely, so we have to wait on him a little bit. But Trey Smith though at guard, I feel like that was a heck of a steal. I'm like, you get an All-American in the 6th round, an All-American right guard, like come on, and the film stood out.
I know they might make a lot of teams look stupid, right?
Yeah,
I don't know, like. Now, people wonder, like, if you haven't heard already, the main reason why he fell in the draft was because in 2018, he was diagnosed with having blood clots in his lungs.
Yeah.
Like, very serious stuff. Don't want to mess around with it. They thought they had it cleared up, and then it kind of came back during his sophomore season, and so he shut it down. And the good thing for the Chiefs is, and I asked this question to one of the guys in the front office, I mean, they feel like he's medically healthy. He went to the combine. He didn't really have any issues in terms of like blood testing, which they do in the NFL. I mean, I'm kind of shocked, Chuck, that they took that. Like he was there in the 6th round. I'm surprised. I mean, like if the dude's good, which he was in college, like he might be good in the NFL. And so I think what the Chiefs want is I think they don't want him to start this season, right? I think they want him on the roster, practicing, getting better with his technique, learn from guys like Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, Kyle Long, Joe Thuney. Like, these dudes been in the league for a while. Like, all these dudes are veterans. Like, these are the 3 guards you're going to be dependent upon, right? Like, LDT's coming back from opting out. He already knows the system. Kyle Long's going to learn it as quickly as he can. I think those guys may play the right guard position, like basically pick who you want to pick. Like maybe they start the year with LDT. If there's a drop off, they can bring in Kyle Long. They gave Joe Thuney the most money in guard history, basically.
Yeah.
Play the left guards. So it's going to be him and Orlando Brown. So if everything goes right for Trey Smith, it's you learn from all 3 of these dudes. You really get better in practice. And Kyle Long and LDT are only on this team for this year. Both of those guys will be free agents after the season's over. Who knows what happens with either of those guys, but if there is an opening at right guard in 2022, that could be your spot, you know, if you show that you've gotten better as a rookie without having to play so much. That way we know we can put you in and you can play really well next to guys like Lucas Niang or whoever is at right tackle. So, interestingly enough, when they drafted, I'd have to do some research. Somebody can check this for me. But I think they drafted Laurent Duvernay-Tardif late in the draft as well because he had came from Canada. And they were like, Canada football is different than pro football. You sit over here and you learn for a year. And then he became a starter the next season, I believe, right? Like it was pretty clear that like, oh, Laurent has talent. They developed him. He's ready to go. I think they want the same thing for Trey, where, hey, man, you learn from Larry, you learn from the offensive line coach, you understand what the team wants from you, and in 2022, you hit the ground running.
Well, this is a question for Nate, for all of us. So which pick in this draft is our favorite and why? I'm going to start with you, Nate.
I wrote this in The Athletic, too. And I hate when they kind of do this. They're like, all right, so here's all the players. Tell me who's your favorite. And it's just like, can I see him play a game? I think it's Creed Humphrey. I just think he's the safest pick. Like, if you tell me who's starting day one out of these 6 guys, I'm going to say it's Creed, probably. I I kind of gotta see it with Nick Bolton in training camp and preseason. Much like what I mentioned earlier, it's really hard to play linebacker in this league. Man, they be going at you. So maybe 5 years from now, it's Nick Bolton because he makes more highlight plays, right? Interceptions, sacks, strip fumbles, big third down tackles, goal line stands. Like Nick Bolton has the chance to have some really good highlights. But I think my favorite pick right now is Creed Humphrey because the whole offseason was about protecting Pat. And so if you give Pat a good offensive lineman in the draft, you already traded for Orlando Brown. You already got Joe Tooney, Lucas Yanks coming off of opting out. Like if Creed Humphrey is that final dude, that fifth offensive lineman, then the Chiefs do what they were supposed to do, which is not have what happened in the Super Bowl. There's no, it's not Andrew Wiley's fault, but Andrew Wiley probably should be starting this year. So I think it'll be Creed Humphrey.
My favorite pick was Orlando Brown.
That's a good answer. Hey, he was like the Chiefs were like, hey, here's our first round pick, and it was a video of Orlando. That's a really good answer.
I'm gonna go with Bolton, man. I like him. I think he do something that we ain't had on this defense. He got that tone setting. He can make them hits. We ain't had nobody that when you throw it across the middle, they lay that hit, you respect them. We ain't really had that type of intensity on defense.
Not since Derek Johnson. Yeah.
Exactly.
Not since DJ. Who would you say, Chuck?
I think I'm gonna say Nick Bolton. I'm gonna say Nick Bolton too, man, because I just want that smoke, man, for all those Chiefs fans that are questioning the pick. I'm trusting my man Sean Smith. He was a guest on here earlier on Kingdom Kast saying the Chiefs need to go this route. And I'm sticking with my guy, man. Plus, I watched Nick Bolton at Mizzou too, man. And I like what I saw on film. That dude's a special player. But I'm not going to say – because here's my thing. Somebody had brought up, like, the metric stats for Darius Leonard, right? And it wasn't as good on the athletic score and stuff. But he turned out to be a two-time All-Pro linebacker. So I'm not saying Nick Bolton's going to be a future All-Pro linebacker, but he could turn into a pretty damn good player. So I'm sticking with Nick Bolton.
Yep. Hey, man, just don't get hurt, tackle people, fly around. Like, I mean, see ball, go get ball. I mean, sometimes we make this game so complicated, but if you can do that, hey, man, you can be really good. Like Darius Leonard, like just, man, he's all over the field, So.
And by the way, Nate, I played the Dolphins. I played as the Dolphins GM, right? And the two guys I selected was Darius Leonard and Minka Fitzpatrick because they had 2 draft picks that year.
Yep.
I hit on those. So,
hey, there you go. Go ahead. I want to believe, but I was really like the way you feel, Chuck, was the way I felt about Willie Gay last year. I thought for a fact, I'm like, oh man, Willie Gay, like that's going to be the best pick out of this draft class, even with Clyde. I was just like, I kind of loved the Willie Gay draft pick last year. So who knows? I mean, maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't.
Nick Bolton reminds me a lot of D. Greenlaw from the Niners. Okay, Phil, I kind of see that.
I just want to see it, I want to see it. Last year, everybody was like mad at me because I was like, look, guys, and I mean, I was told this, so it's not like I'm revealing a secret. But like, I was telling people, like, "Hey, man, you're not gonna see Willie Gay until like October," and they're like, "What do you mean?" And I was just like, "The coaches aren't gonna play him till October." Like, there was no preseason, there was no like off-season program. Like, they just they're gonna take it really slow with Willie Gay. So they don't really have that option this year with Nick Bolton because again,
no Damian.
And you're supposed to be better than Ben Neiman.
Right. So
you're starting. So you're the starter.
Right. So I'm glad you mentioned preseason. I'm glad you mentioned that. So they reduced it to 2 games now, right? With this 17-week schedule, right? Okay, so like, how do you feel about preseason being reduced? I mean, do you think that's going to affect like the timing of all these NFL teams? Because I know some fans aren't a fan of preseason, but I feel like you kind of need preseason to get the timing down. You know what I mean? You got to get enough game reps in to get everybody on the same page. So, are you going to see like a major difference with it being 2 games now, as far as like college football?
Yeah, somebody check this. I can't. I can look on my phone real quick. I can't remember if it's 2 games or 3 games. I know the Players Association. Yeah, the Players Association was pushing for 2, and I think the league was like, let's compromise and do 3. Is that right? Is that right, country? Okay, yeah. So it's 3, which ultimately really means it's 2, because like ain't nobody playing the 3rd preseason game.
Yeah,
you really shouldn't. So here's the thing that, like, I mean, the fun part about all of this is preseason. I have to remind myself. I get so excited the first preseason game because it's like, hey, there's football. There's like 22 dudes on a field. Like, holy smokes, it's been a while. And then like 10 minutes into the preseason game, you're like, when does the season start? Like, when does
we all do that? Yep.
like 10 minutes in, you're like, all right. They ain't running no real plays. Everybody's taking it easy. Everybody making business decisions because you want to stay healthy. When does the season start? I think it'll be cool that like at least they reduced it. You have to remind people preseason is really important for Chad Henne. Preseason is really important for the rookies. Preseason is really important for like I'm gonna mention 2 players. 2 dudes I really like. Darwin Thompson, he gonna have to ball in the preseason. Colin Saunders, you gonna have to ball in the preseason. Like, so it's kind of those guys that have been draft picks and haven't had as much success, or guys that need to like really earn their roster spot. We're looking at you again, Nick Kaiser. You want to make the team again, like. Play well. So it's a lot of like it's really important for the 2s, right? The second team unit. I think, a lot of fans may not know him, but I didn't miss preseason at all last year. It was kind of great with the, one of the few benefits to the pandemic. But we never saw Jordan Ta'amu, who is the 3rd string quarterback from Mississippi, who has a little Patrick in him, just a little, just a little. And, he has yet to play in an NFL game because there were no preseason games last year. The Chiefs brought him back. It's clear that Chad Henne is going to be the backup this year. But the hope is like if Jordan Ta'amu plays really well in the preseason and he keeps learning he keeps learning the playbook, maybe he'll be Patrick's backup in 2022. So I can give you like 10 guys that I would be excited to watch, but they're not running any real plays. And you're watching guys that are going to get cut. And we did this for 4 weeks. Like I used to just ask myself all the time, like, we did this for 4 weeks before we played a real game, whereas in college, they're just like, all right, boys, game's on September 10th. See you then,
Yeah, but I'm glad you mentioned Colin Saunders though, because I remember a tweet. I don't know if you know who at Tyler I Am is, but Steve Spagnuolo had commented on Colin Saunders when he switched to linebacker when they played the Chargers, and he said it kind of reminded him of LeVon Kirkland, and it reminded me of this tweet from Tyler I Am. It said, "I haven't seen a single snap since they said Leonard was 215 pounds. I believe he's talking about Darius Leonard." And he said, "Can't shake it. What happened to the days of LeVon Kirkland? A real linebacker."
He's so athletic, man. Like Colin Saunders, like if people don't know this, he was a beast in high school, like a beast. They used to have him play running back. It was insane. It's crazy that he can even like look halfway decent playing linebacker in the NFL at his size, at like almost 300 pounds. You're just like, so look, I want him to have success because he's a really good dude.
Is Spags gonna keep him there? Is he gonna keep trying him at linebacker?
No, I think he wants to stay on the defensive line. But you know how that was in Week 17. It was so funny because, I mean, it was funny and then it wasn't funny because it was like, ugh. But because it would have been nice if Willie Gay was like playing in the Super Bowl. Problem was he didn't play because he got hurt. So here's this game that doesn't matter. You got to play it because it's Week 17. The Chargers don't really care about it either. And Andy's like, we got to play all the young guys. So guys like Colin Saunders, guys like, God, what happened to DeAndre Baker was just like it kind of broke my heart. That broke my heart because it was like he had already gone through his whole ordeal with whether he was, trying to be compromised, by just, crazy people, honestly. And there was really nothing that came of it. They were trying to export him. And so he breaks his femur. I think he broke his femur.
I believe so. That dude was playing so well up until that.
He was playing so right. So it was like, and I remember at the time I was like, guys, the game only matters for two players, DeAndre Baker and Willie Gay, because Willie Gay should play in the postseason because we all know he's talented. And hey, man, DeAndre Baker, another corner, throw him out there. Hey, put another body out there. And both dudes got hurt in the game. It's just like this wasn't the way it was supposed to go. So I don't think it's funny, you have me thinking now. I'll ask Spags this in training camp, but I think Spagnuolo looked around and was like, damn, we don't have any other linebackers because Willie got hurt. And it's just like, hey, Colin, can you fill in? And Colin was like, I guess I'm gonna have to earn my paycheck today. And he had a there was one snap where he was the Sam linebacker and he pursued it really well. And I was like, look at this big man moving space, tracking the ball. But yeah, so I think he'll be back to being a defensive tackle. But it's crowded up there, man. You got Chris Jones, you got Darren Reed, Tershawn Wharton just jumped over him last year on the roster. So does Spags want to keep 4 defensive tackles on the roster? I don't know, Colin. You're gonna have to make that decision hard, come training camp and preseason.
Yeah, most definitely. Dutcher, you got something, bro?
No, man. I think we covered everything, man. Just want to give a nice shout out to Nate. I mean, he's one of those guys. In Nate and Therese, it's kind of the young black guy that's reporting and doing something that we like and speaking as being our voice as fans in the media and to the team and stuff. So we just all the respect and congrats and all the praise for your work, man. You've been doing great. I finally subscribed to The Athletic, so I've been reading you. Thanks for that discount. No, but yeah, I think you're really starting to get your props now, and that's nice, man. You're a great guy.
Thank you.
Plus, you're a local guy, so
yeah.
Between you and BJ kind of have a similar. BJ came from us, literally Chiefs Twitter, and rose through the ranks to the kingdom. And he's doing big things. They did something huge this week. So
yeah. Shout out to the Kansas City Sports Newsletter, man. That's exciting. I mean, even my guy Jeff Allen. I'm just man, Jeff Allen, Mike DeVito, these are dudes, man.
That line up lit, man.
Look at what BJ's doing, man. So it's a great time. Again, I was thrilled y'all asked me. Happy to do it as always. It's I've talked about Therese a ton. I mean, I'd known Therese since I was in college, so I went to it's crazy. I went to Central Missouri, and Therese had just come to Kansas City because he was covering high schools for the Star, and so we just stayed connected this whole time, and it's it's amazing, man. I know how happy he was when I got the job to cover the Chiefs, and we would be at games together, man. It's just. Yeah, it's crazy. Therese loved the draft, and I'm starting to try to honor him that way. You know, I care too much about the games and like the stories and like the people. But like I'm starting to get it now, you know, especially trying to remember my friend, like starting to get like why Therese thought the draft was so cool. Just because, like, you know, it's these dudes following their dreams and getting this like ultimate success story, and whatever you do in your NFL career is, you know, kind of up to you. But like, I mean, there's like 200 and some odd dudes that get drafted every year, and like, you know how good you got to be to get drafted. So I mean, I love Therese. I'm always gonna, you know, honor him in a lot of ways. It's really cool to live here, you know, when the pandemic's over, to like be out here. Like one of my favorite things before the pandemic was like I would walk through the parking lot. Like 2-3 hours before a game, I'd park my car, kind of see what the atmosphere is like, kind of smell the barbecue, being like, man, this is my city. Like everybody's geeked about whoever the Chiefs are going to play. And it was cool when people would just like recognize you and be like, we appreciate the work, or like, you know, you're one of us. And I would be like, I am. Like, ain't this crazy? Like, they actually gave one of these dudes a job to like cover this team. And like, I know guys in the locker room know that. So, I mean, it's a really cool thing to know that people care, and to just, again, even hang out with us tonight. Like, again, you know, I thank everybody for watching. Please subscribe to The Athletic. We got all the promotion codes. So slide in the DMs if you have to. But yeah, I mean, it's a great job, man. And I'm just honored you guys had me on. And yeah, I'm going to be around whenever, you know. So by the way, they're probably gonna do training camp in St. Joe this year. So hey, get your shots, get vaccinated. I don't know if we'll be wearing masks in August, but like I'll be there. Come say hi. You know, that's a thing too I miss. Like, you know, I would see fans. I would see fans in St. Joe, and be like, do you know how crazy it is that like you could hug strangers because of a football team? Like, ain't that crazy? Like, life is so much fun because we all have these common things that we enjoy. You can come into them differently. And like people would hug me. And I'm like, I have to remind you, I'm not on the team. I just covered the team. Like I'm not getting paychecks. Like, and then I would instruct them, BJ's over there. BJ is like getting paychecks from Clark Hunt. Okay. Like that's just the cool thing about sports, is like it all connects us. We all enjoy each other's company. We all got opinions. We all enjoy talking to one another about what the team is doing. But yeah, man, I'm excited to hopefully be back in St. Joe. Hopefully get to hug people. Hopefully everybody's staying safe. And yeah, man, let's just keep talking about this crazy team that, I mean, they're gonna be good year after year after year because they got 15.
We gotta send a shout out to Harold Kuntz though, because he did.
Oh, yeah, he was a connect. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a connect. Good guy.
Oh, my God. Me and Harold, real quick, me and Harold will text one another during these Zooms with Coach, and it's hilarious. We're just like, you know, we're always talking. Shout out to Harold. Shout out to his wife, Marcia. Yeah, just love those two to death. Yeah, it was just, I mean, I was so happy when Harold came here because, again, it was another black guy who came from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I come from Indiana, so like it's just you got all these common you know things going on in our lives, and yeah, he was just like, "You're from here, right?" And I'm like, yeah, man, I got you covered. I'll tell you where to go.
Yeah, Harold's a real good.
Yeah, Harold's a really good guy, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Happy for Harold. Happy for Aaron Ladd. Shout out to him too. He's up in Channel 41. I don't know if you guys have talked to him, but he's a really cool guy. He's one of the young cats coming up, making me feel old, but you know.
Yeah, Aaron has tuned into our show, actually. I seen him tune in before. So, yeah, definitely shout out to Aaron as well.
Yeah, man.
But, all right, so Nate, I want to thank you again for coming on to our show tonight. And also want to thank the audience for tuning into tonight's show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share on all your social media platforms. And what's up, Lennox?
I see you.
The fourth member.
What's up, Lennox?
How you doing, man?
That kind now.
my son does the same thing.
But until the next episode, Kingdom Cast, we're out of here.
Say peace. Say peace.